All right, Friday, American soccer is weird. The trial for the hearts and minds of soccer in America wrapped up last week. The suit went in favor of Major League Soccer and USSF.
Yeah.
So kind of just want to ask the question here, what ultimately did the NASL lawsuit accomplish?
Nothing. Lots of people paid lawyers lots of money. Lots
Yeah,
of people.
other
People paid
than
lawyers lots of
making
money.
other than making rich lawyers richer, what did we do?
No, nothing came out of this. Nothing came out of this. I covered it a little bit, I think, on Wednesday when you were under the weather, and I tried to get us to have some understanding of what actually this was all about. And when we talked to Stephen Bank, when I interviewed Stephen Bank for the show, he laid it out. He said it as bluntly as I think you can, which is that this was largely about the wealthy people, the powerful people fighting over who gets to be in charge of soccer. Was this really to save the soul of American soccer, Rob? Was this really to pull American soccer from the grubby claws of U.S. soccer and put it back into the hands of the people? I don't know if it ever was in the hands of the people, but was that really what was at stake here? I mean, certainly that's the framing that Rocco Commisso and NASL would like you to believe. They would like you to believe that they were fighting the good fight, that this was right, justified to go after U.S. soccer. And look, in terms of the law, like if we're being narrow about this, forget about the whole, like, is this good for American soccer thing. If we're just being narrow and talking about the law, there was a case here. There was a case here.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like they just
The
sort of
waiver thing and
imagined. Yeah, I mean, like, it wouldn't have gotten to a trial if there wasn't grounds for the lawsuit. No, a judge would have thrown it out way before this. Now, a judge did narrow the scope and make it really just about whether or not those PLS standards were misapplied, not whether they were legal in the first place, which is really what NASL wanted to challenge, or Rocco wanted to challenge. He wanted to challenge the idea that MLS and U.S. Soccer got to say anything. And obviously, it's U.S. Soccer that's supposed to have some say, but you're not supposed to collude with another business. Don't call them leagues, by the way. For the purposes of the conversation, these are businesses. And this is a fight over businesses. And so I don't think much. We won't be talking about this 10 years from now. It'll be a footnote in American soccer history. Now, the NASL has vowed to appeal. And I said this on Blue Sky. You can follow me at Davis Jason over on Blue Sky. I said that people forget that America's longest running war is the soccer war.
Yep.
And it won't end. We didn't lay down arms because of this lawsuit. There's no peace happening. We're not signing a treaty on a giant boat or something, which is usually what happens after a war is over. This is going to continue. But I don't know that it's going to gain anything. I don't know if we're going to gain anything from it, right? I don't know that a lawsuit is going to upend American soccer in the way that people who want to see American soccer upended because they dislike the way it's organized, they dislike Major League Soccer, they don't like the fact that we don't have an integrated pyramid with promotion and relegation. A lawsuit's not going to change that.
No, and I liked your comment on Blue Sky. Like, did you really do all these things? Did you put more scrutiny onto soccer leadership? I mean, like you said, there was some basis. They got all the way to trial. It didn't work out. I thought it was odd that the lawyer that probably charged millions of dollars said that there was some legal mistakes made in this, and that's why they could appeal. It seems kind of like Kessler. That kind of seems on him that there was legal mistakes.
No, he's saying that the judge misapplied the law.
Oh.
And that the jury should have had more opportunity to consider other things. And I think that maybe that even includes the narrowing of the scope to the way that PLS was applied rather than the fact that PLS existed in the first place and that the PLS was unfair. Here's the statement that NASL put out after the trial. By the way, unsigned. You can go read this at their website. Unsigned, no name on it, no Rocco, no commissioner of the NASL, which they just named a new one like 2 weeks ago or whatever that was. This is what it says. It said they respect the jury process, they appreciate the time, they believe fundamental legal errors prevented the jury from considering key evidence and applying the correct legal standards. Right? Okay, so that is basically saying we think there are grounds for appeal, which everybody appeals. So that's not a surprise. While NASL made out of, this is where it gets really interesting. While NASL may not have achieved the desired verdict at trial, the scrutiny we placed on the leadership of the U.S. Soccer Federation has been a meaningful achievement in and of itself. The attention we helped bring to the management and governance challenges within the Federation contributed to important changes. Here we go. Beginning with a change in leadership in 2018, I will remind everybody that that was precipitated largely, or at least the reading most people have, by the fact the U.S. men's national team failed to qualify for the World Cup.
That was a big thing.
That Sunil Gulati essentially decided. Sunil Gulati was basically president for life of U.S. Soccer. He had expertly gathered support, curried favor, gotten the right people on his side, so that if he ran again, he was going to win. But maybe he did see that the winds were blowing in a different direction, and he might have lost the next election. But he chose not to run, and that came after U.S. Soccer was hit by this massive blow of missing the Men's World Cup. So for the NASL to claim that when they filed their lawsuit in 2017, that somehow led to Sunil Gulati stepping aside seems like a stretch. It also says culminating in U.S. Soccer ending its commercial rights partnership with MLS-owned Soccer United Marketing in 2022. I do think there's a possibility that the NASL lawsuit and some of the scrutiny did push U.S. Soccer in that direction. How much NASL can claim responsibility for that, I think, is still up in the air. Our efforts to confront U.S. Soccer's many conflicts of interest also contributed to broader discussions and progress on key issues, and this is where it gets real nebulous, including equal pay for the U.S. women's national team players and the creation of the USL Super League, a competitive first division soccer league that expands playing opportunities for female athletes. NASL is taking credit for the USL Super League. I'm flabbergasted by that statement, Robert. Flabbergasted.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how those two link entirely, but I mean, just putting an unsigned response and just claiming things were because of you is quite a take. Going back though to Galati and the lack in 2018 not qualifying, and I don't think really, unless you were way embedded in the United States soccer, those elections for president were not a thing. It was like maybe one article like, oh, Galati got, his sixth term as president or whatever.
Right.
But that was
exactly.
like a whole, more people, dug into the inner workings of how USSF worked after that than any other thing. I'd say that was probably one of the most transformative moments in a generation.
And let's be fair and try to say that a thing can be two things. All right,
True.
To borrow a phrase from a friend of mine and something that I try to say in different ways on occasion. It can be true that NASL's anger, upset, unhappiness with the way the PLS was applied, and hence the lawsuit that they filed in 2017, is especially among a certain group of fans in American soccer, fans who are focused on lower division soccer, for example, fans who are not fans of Major League Soccer, who are anti-MLS. Those fans, those people may have they may have come to that presidential election and changes in leadership and all those things because in part of this lawsuit at NASL, right? And being upset about the way it was handled with NASL. But, most fans were just angry that the U.S. men's national team missed the World Cup. That was the vast majority of American soccer fans who cared at the time and were engaged with what was happening, cared because we missed the World Cup, and that seemed like a disaster. I was doing radio shows around that time, and it was call after call after call about who Galati has to go, not because MLS and U.S. Soccer colluded to hold back the NASL, but because we missed the World Cup, right? Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, this speaks to a problem that U.S. Soccer has and sort of what it is. We care, most of us, we care about the top level. We care about the U.S. men and the U.S. women's national team and their fortunes in the World Cup and the Olympics for the U.S. women. But U.S. Soccer is much more than that, right? They don't just organize the national teams. They do a lot of other things. And I'll bring in Andrew's comment here. Back during the election, Kyle Martino pitched promotion relegation as a cornerstone of his U.S. presidential bid. You know who didn't want it? The players in the states, right? So, again, this is the issue of, like, competing interest within the constituency of U.S. Soccer, and then NASL is basically saying, look at what we did, and if you were there when it happened, you know that it was mostly just typical fan anger over the failure of a team.
Yeah, an image that I'll never forget is in the press. There's a photo. I think it was came out the next day. It was Galati in the presser room, just kind of like in the background during the post game debrief after that loss or that the bad result in Trinidad, and just had his head in his hand and just looked like the most deflated person I can ever see. Remember in a soccer image that'll stand out for a very very long time. But back to the NASL lawsuit, just a very serious question. What would you set the over under on backslaps in Don Garber's office the day that this result came in from the trial?
I get the sense that there were very few of those because they were very confident they were going to win because as came out in the trial. And again, this does not mean there wasn't some sort of collusion. It's just very difficult to sort of prove that. My sense, though, is that they knew how bad NASL had screwed up from an organizational perspective. They knew this was in the bag, right? And so it's not like, hey, look at us, huzzah! I don't think they were saying huzzah. I think they were like, yep, that's what we thought. And some people would say, well, that speaks to hubris and a sense of superiority on the part of Major League Soccer, and you might not be wrong. You might not be wrong.
Yeah, I feel like there was some not even a consideration. I think it was Hunt was saying like I didn't even really pay attention to NASL. That was a thing. That was a thing he said. But either
how
way,
disrespectful, right? The difference that what is they say the opposite of love isn't hate, it's ambivalence.
yeah, ambivalence for sure. So we shall see if there's any appeals like that. But the NASL versus MLS and USSF done for now. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into today's show. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. We are working our way towards 1,000 subscribers. Follow on social media at mkickaround. Write us an email, morningkickaround@gmail.com. And be like Mike. Make a donation. Help support Morning Kickaround. Ko-fi.com/morningkickaround. You can donate at any level. One time, make it a subscription thing. You can do whatever you'd like. So thank you to Mike and whoever may choose to donate. Thank you to David Gass. Great segment. Great to talk MLS with him. And any final notes before we kick on out of here, Mr. Davis?
No. Enjoy your soccer. Again, I would recommend you not commit to a game unless you're a Dortmund fan, for example, until you know what that lineup looks like. You know, Nico could pull the rug out from under us, and we don't want to be spending time wasting our time watching Gio Reyna sit on a bench. Or not watching him, because why would they have a camera on him? He's on the bench.
We look forward to Monday. Hopefully I don't have a giant black eye come Monday. And then my 10-year-old has been he discovered how to make memes, and he's chosen to make some soccer ones. So we'll see if we throw those a little bit in the mix. He's got some funny soccer memes in store for us, perhaps. But anyway, have a great weekend. Enjoy your soccer. Thanks for tuning in. Morning Kick Around. See you next time.